what's a characteristic, a specific characteristic of someone that you've interviewed or whatever that you look at and you're like, oh, I wish I had more of that?
Well, I would say the characteristic that I admire most in my guests, and when I really realize that I like a guest in the midst of the conversation, is when I sense a certain amount of openness. Now, what I mean by that is, it's not that they don't know what they're talking about or they're looking to be proven wrong or something like that. But there are certain people when you sit down with them, they just rifle off at numbers and they're very like, it's very like this. And that's fine. It's not to mean that they're wrong, but you can only sort of get them to move so far. What I've found is the most interesting guests that I have, and I could relay this actually to Jordan Peterson, who I talk about in the Mentor chapter, is that, as Jordan lays some things out, he also is telling you often he's not totally sure where this all leads. He's not totally sure if he's right about all of these things. He's telling you, this is what I think with the information that I have, and this is how I'm trying to build a cohesive worldview. I think that's pretty admirable. And in the Mentor chapter, I lay out that it wasn't as if I asked the guy to be my mentor, and it wasn't as if he selected me. So it wasn't like, we didn't have like a Jedi Knight and a Padawan learner relationship, you know what I mean? He wasn't sending me to the trials. But what happened was we toured together for about 1.5 years, and we did about 120 shows, and I think it was around 20 countries. And as we toured, it was like seeing this guy live up to what he put in that book, 12 Rules for Life, seeing the way, if you speak honestly, that you can actually change the world. And that was the very premise of his book. And I saw the man change thousands of people's lives, people that were drug addicted, people that were in abusive relationships, people that had bad jobs, the litany of things that we all go through, as Jordan would put, the chaos of life. And I saw him, through his words, add order to other people's lives. And that's pretty amazing. So I would say, in many ways, he became a mentor by osmosis, just by being around it. Sure, we had some important sit-downs where we talked about big life things, and I mentioned some of that in there. But a lot of it, sometimes you find a mentor, not because you have a Skype meeting every Sunday night, but because you're around somebody who's done something that you aspire to do, and they've done it well, and you can glean some of that and figure
really
out how to incorporate it in your life.
On that unknown part, and like the curiosity is right. It's like I think this, but who knows? Like, I love that, and I hope we're coming back around to that, right? I think we've had these like decade or whatever of like certainty and anger and I'm right, you're wrong, but I like this like attitude, and I think COVID has really helped this too, because like no one knows, right? Like no one knows about anything, right? So like I hope people are kind of learning to kind of be in this space of like, I think this, but I don't know, maybe not. Why are we uncomfortable like that?
Well, that's exactly why there's something interesting happening with COVID, because it's like everyone, if you're thinking right now, if you're a thinking person, it's like you should be reevaluating your life. Do you live in a house that you want to live in? Are you living in a big city, or do you want to live in a suburban area? Do you like commuting? Do you like your wife or your kids? Are you happy at your job? Do you believe that the systems that we have are functioning properly? Maybe you want a little land so you could do some gardening or have some chickens. I mean, all sorts of stuff about like big picture stuff that we don't really think about, or that 3 months ago you wouldn't have felt it was important to think about, we're thinking about now. So I do think there's a great opportunity here. Look, one of the things that I think is really cool about this book is that, I wrote this thing, I finished in July, so it didn't come out now until end of April. We're in May right now, so obviously I didn't know about COVID. But one of the things that I really push in the book is states' rights. And it's like nobody talks about state rights except for some, libertarian conferences and policy people. But suddenly, in the last month in America, what are we talking about? States' rights. States have to open up, and what's good for New York is not necessarily good for Montana.
Slater Crusaders, thanks for watching the first on YouTube. If you want more, like, subscribe. We got plenty.